Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marica Gigante and I'm a visual merchandising expert. In this video I will answer to your question, the question you submitted to my Instagram account and via direct messages or email. Some of them are about the same topic. I saw that you're really interested in understanding what is going to happen between e-commerce and visual merchandising. Some others are really into how to become a visual merchandiser. So maybe about these two main topics that pops out, I can do a kind of video dedicated to these two topics. If you are interested, just leave me a comment down below in the comment section. So a little disclaimer for this video, of course these are my opinion and are coming from my experience. So that's it. I mean, let's go through and see if this can work for you as well. So I have my computer here with me with all your questions. The first question, as I said, the main topics popped out are two. One is related to e-commerce and online visual merchandising, and the other one is related to how become a visual merchandiser, what kind of study I have to do to become a visual merchandiser. So I will go through and try to reply to each question, even though the topic might be the same, but the question is slightly different. So let's go through. The first one is, where do you see the future of visual merchandising 10-15 years from now with the increase in online retail? So, of course, we notice that the e-commerce, online retail are growing, and by now they're really growing fast, even in luxury. What I know and what I read as a fact is that in less than 10 years, this growing will be like flat. The 20% of the sale will be online. At the same time, in some case, like for example Amazon, Alibaba, they're moving in the other way. I mean, we still be physical person, so we still enjoy to go and stroll around, visit a store, maybe be treated in a certain way, because some shops of course are working on their customer experience, and this is really enticing customer and entertaining them when they are in the store. So this is my point of view for the next 10-15 years. I think because of the level of the sales online will be like flat, I don't think that visual merchandising in retail, in physical retail, will disappear. So I think we'll still survive in this. So the second question is, with e-commerce becoming more mainstream, how do visual merchandiser keep brick and mortar from going under? It's really easy, convenient, and comfortable to shop with your laptop or with your phone, even really easily from your couch. I do it really often and it's quite fun. By the way, I still enjoy to go in certain place because I want to feel somehow different. I want to be treated in a different way from people. I like the environment. I like the way I feel when I stay in some place. So in this case, to keep it live, to keep our discipline really engaging and interesting, I would say there is a lot of possibility we can choose. I mean, we can be more focused on the experience, we can be focused on a different way to show window display or create different display in store. I mean, there are so many different things we can play with that are not used yet in the proper way. And I'm not talking about digital. I am more into analogical way, more into physical thing that can happen, and they can be enticed and play with senses like sounds, like smell, like be treated in a certain way, feeling in a certain way. So this is how I see it for this surviving of visual merchandising for physical retail. The third question is, what is your suggestion about VM lifespan? Will online kill our job or it will remain the same? I hope, and I quite observing this every day, that visual merchandising is not still the same. I mean, it's a living creature that going through different evolution and different changing, because it follows the trends and adapt to need of the customers and of the retailer to sell and to be part of this world, the contemporary world. So of course it will change and it will adapt, starting from basic rules, adapting itself to different retailers. I wouldn't say that we as a visual merchandiser are in trouble. Of course, we have to be prepared that everything changing, but this is the specific way this discipline is made. Everything is ephemeral. Everything is changing so fast. Trends are going super fast in fashion especially, but all over the world. I mean, we are living in a fast-paced society. We cannot avoid this. As a visual merchandiser, of course, we have to sometimes forecast the trends and sometimes just go with the trend. As I said before, for the other questions, I'm not scared about visual merchandising for physical retail disappearing. I think the lifespan is really long. Another question about the online shops is the job of a visual merchandiser still relevant for an online shop, and how? Visual merchandising is relevant for any kind of retail. I would say products or a service is really relevant in order to increase sales. Of course, online, still a relevant discipline. Visual merchandising is really important in order to catch the attention on the proper object, on the proper item, and to sell this item. It's not only to present nicely things, it's more a science where you have to understand how the customer behave and how the customer walk into the store. Online, of course, you're not seeing how the customer walk into the store because they're not there physically, but the way they interact with your page is really important to understand how to display products. So yes, it is relevant. Is a relevant job. Of course, it can use some of the same basics of the traditional visual merchandising, but at the same time it has to adapt. And this is not new. I mean, it's something that visual merchandising always have to do. Starting from the basic, adapting itself to every kind of retail, and online is not an exception. I mean, today I wouldn't be able totally to work for an online e-commerce. I have the knowledge enough to understand and use some leverage of visual merchandising even online. So this would help. As I'm a good observer of the retail and I'm really enthusiastic about this, I go often to visit different stores, different kind of retails, not only fashion, but sometimes I find myself in a supermarket to observing how visual merchandising work there, because it's my job, it's my passion, it's something I love to do and I love to understand. At the same time, I do this with online shops and I see how in different way, for different product category, they work in a different way. So I can actually observe in the visual merchandising for online. So yeah, still relevant, and this is how. I mean, some rules are the same, like colors rules will be the same. Either online or a physical space needs to convey their brand. Visual merchandising can help both ways to do this. Another question is, how do visual merchandiser adapt to e-commerce without the skill of a graphic designer or photographer? How do we adapt in general? Will brick and mortar have a comeback? As I said before, I'm not afraid that my discipline, that visual merchandising, will disappear for physical. It is quite difficult if you are a visual merchandiser like me, always worked on a shop, to adapt your knowledge to online shops, as our job is always keeping update, finding new things, discover new technologies, softwares that can help in our jobs. I think it's not that difficult because our mind usually is ready and prepared to know more and to learn more and more. If you are an expert in visual merchandiser, it would be easier. But if you're just new to this world, maybe it's easier as well because you can learn from now on. When I did my course, my vocational course in visual merchandising was really specific. I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but it was like 17 years ago. I was 20 by that time. What I learned then is not really working now, because of course some basic rules still working, but at the same time the way we display things back then when I was learning this job and the way we are displaying things today and the kind of window we have today, the kind of working we put in today's windows. I am lucky enough to have a job that allows me to learn a lot, and I think this job is half of this job is made by learning through things, observing, doing, see what others do, and this keeps your mind open, so it wouldn't be difficult to learn how to do online visual merchandising. So we finished with the e-commerce, and the next topic, as I was saying, the main one is about what I have to study. And this question say, what do I have to study in order to start a career in visual merchandising? Well, I would say you should study the basics of visual merchandising for sure. Maybe you can have a little bit of retail management and understand how a retail works itself. I mean, the proper store, how does it work? The delivery, how they fix the window, when they fix the window, and all these things, because are the main topics you need to know when you have to plan and project displays and do visual merchandiser in store. So I would say these are the really basic, but now we will go through this because we have several questions about the topic. So the other question is, as I am going to graduate from an architecture school next year, I wonder if my BA degree allowed me to work as visual merchandiser. So I have to say different companies have different requirements. Some of the company don't have any problem. They let you get inside as a sales assistant. If you are really smart and you are into this job, you can grow inside this company and become a visual merchandiser, maybe a junior, and then you grow up and you can do your career in there. Some other company requires a minimum of degree, maybe in visual merchandising or in fashion management or whatever. It all depends by the company and what is your attitude with the job. So the other question is, can you tell us a good place or courses to learn more about visual merchandising, please? So this is the main question I receive. I think I receive this question almost every day via mail or a direct message on Instagram, or people I meet, some students that of course are in the learning path. What I have to say, as usual, is there is not a specific school. I mean, the one school that guarantees you will become visual merchandiser. There are a lot of schools today that are really good. Of course, it's good to learn basics, but at the same time, it's really relevant to understand how to apply them to the reality, to the real world. Because this is the main question, I am actually working these days on a really short and interesting orientation course, I would like to say, that explain how to become a visual merchandiser. And inside you will find a list of the most important schools that have this topic, of course. I'm also considering to have a couple of interviews inside this course that will be with the professional visual merchandiser in order to analyze their path, how they became a visual merchandiser, so you can have the point of view from different people. As I say, you have to learn the basic and you need the ability to apply these basics to the real life, to real story. The next question is more general. My reply will be quite general. Okay, the question is, what do you think is happening with luxury visual merchandising? So visual merchandising in luxury, especially in fashion, is always been pioneering. I mean, it's always been forward compared to other field visual merchandising. This because it's been clear since so many years ago, so many ages ago, that display things in different way, combine the looks, would increase your sales. Of course, fashion took this a little bit far because they understood, I would say late 80s, early 90s, they understood how marketing was important for them, and visual merchandising is part of marketing and communication for the store. It's really good to keep an eye on luxury visual merchandising because, of course, it's a field where there is money, where they understand the importance of this discipline, and sometimes they create the main trends way before that you can even imagine. I mean, sometimes you can observe a window and understand the next trend. Some other time you look at the window and you're wondering what the hell is going on, and after a few months you start to understand how this influenced all the shops around and all the fashion industry for a certain place. I think it's happening what is always happened. I mean, they're really forward in this discipline, and it's something that we can keep an eye on it. The two main aspects that will never change. One is to convey and communicate the image brand, and the other one is to speak the language of the target. So These two main things will never change, but of course the discipline and the way the window is created, the display is created, the brand speak with their target will change through maybe art direction, different art directions, or different time of the history. I mean, luxury is a field really interesting to observe because there is no struggle. There is money enough to have a good example of visual merchandising and window dressing, window display. Oh, finally, a really specific question. I really like to go into these kind of topics. So the other question is, any suggestion to display records and music items, any difference between music store and concept store? So I have to say that usually records are displayed in a really boring way, and sometimes they're really packed inside their case. As a music passionate, you cannot actually go and dig in it because it's really packed. This is not really good. It's like when you go to Zara and you want to browse inside some clothes and everything is so full and packed, and the hangers is everything. You cannot even go through and understand if it's a skirt or a trousers or a camisole or whatever. In the same way for records, sometimes you go in a store and you have this huge and flat perspective of records. You try to go through, but you cannot even move them. You have to slide them up and down, and that is not really comfortable. I mean, it's not really enticing you to buy them. This happens because sometimes, I mean, most of the times, all the retailers, not only the one in the music industry, all the retailers think that the more item I have, the more sales I do. Because of course, they think, but it's not correct. If I have a lot of records, I can speak to people that like rock, or they like punk, or they like different kind of music. But the thing is, it's working way better for music or for other category if you have a specific topic to speak about. Let's say if you have a music store that sell only punk or hip hop or whatever, just that topic. Of course, you don't need to have the full collection of all the other music genres. You just to focus on that, and of course, all the passionate about that music will come. At the same time, if you leave space between each records, they will be happy to browse, and of course, coming back, and the experience will be nicer. This gives more value to the product. The second part of the question is any difference between music store and concept store. Of course, the music store will sell only things related to music, like records, CDs, headphones, or whatever. And a concept store is more related to combine different things, different items from different categories that works together. When you are displaying, maybe a good suggestion for the concept store is to give the concept itself. This means that maybe I can use a corner to display a record that is punk with the clothes that are related to that mood, and maybe some accessories that can work with that mood. In this way, I give to the customer the atmosphere of how they should feel dressed, or what is the mood of this, I don't know, record or music genre. A different way to combine things is more similar to enter in a house and find, or in a place, and recognize the style. In the same way, you can do it inside the store, inside your concept store. You can play with moods, you can play with maybe a festivity. Of course, if there is a summertime, you can actually display all together in a corner the summer hits with the most interesting and popular clothes for summer, or accessories for summer, the same way for the Christmas or for any other occasion during the year. So it's really nice to me use the music as a mood, as a general mood, and also as a general item that you can actually combine with different items and different accessories from different categories. Okay, the other question is, can I ask about connection, visual merchandising and window display? Does window designer have to work as visual merchandiser? This is another question I get quite often. There are so many roles in this discipline, and some of them like overlap. So I'll try to make it short and make it clear in this reply, but at the same time, if you're interested in go deeper in this difference of roles in visual merchandising. I can do a proper video about this. Let me know in the comment section down below. The main topic is visual merchandising. It's the big container, let's say, is the big discipline that have so many different things inside of it. So inside visual merchandising, you can find window designer, display designer, window dresser, visual merchandiser itself. So visual merchandising, of course, is a discipline that combines science and art. So as we know, of course, it is to display things nicely, but at the same time, you need to sell them. So you need to understand how people interact with them or will interact with them in order to sell them. Window dresser can be only the person that works with the window. Window designer can be only the person that works with the design of the window. Maybe in a team can exist all of these figures, all of these roles. It depends by the companies, because some companies have an organization chart that involves like headquarters for VM that build the guidelines and develop them and give them to the stores, and in store you have somebody that is in charge for this, to apply these guidelines that headquarters develop for the brand. Sometimes there is only one person that is in charge for everything, and this is because maybe the brand is really small. So there is not a yes or a no in this question. If you need a more deep reply to this topic, I can do a video, and you can just leave me a comment and say it, and I will do a video about this. I know there is a lot of confusion around this. So many roles that overlaps all the time. Okay, so this is a really specific question. It's not really a question, it's like I need help kind of thing. So my question is very nuts and bolts. 6 months into a rethink and revamp of museum gift shops, I've transformed the exteriors with paint and garden, but have clunky tired shop fitting with no budget or approval to remove. Need ideas or starting point. Lately, I'm really interested in museum gift shops. I go around and analyze them just to try and understand why there are almost no difference between one another. So this question is really on point, and it's really difficult to give advice without having any pictures or any clue, any idea about these museum gift shops, only with this information. What I can say is that sometimes in museum shops I see the old way to display things, and when I say old way, I refer to the 50s, 60s, before the visual merchandising was really inside store. So what I observe usually is that all the guides for the cities or for the museum are here, all the books are here, all the gadgets and the pencils and the magnets, and everything is divided by categories. What about starting with colors, for example? This would be a good starting point, because colors is the first thing that attracts us and our attention. So if you play with colors, and of course things you will display have colors, so maybe you can create corners and sections using colors and giving a little bit space between one and another. Maybe you can create a section that is based on red, and you have all the guides and all the books and all the gadgets using red in that section, or blue or yellow or whatever. I mean, starting with colors and try to do this, because sometimes we are so inside our store and our way to do things always in the same way that we forget how to use the basic things, the basic rules. So maybe if you can organize this, so you can start with organizing this with colors, could be a good point of view. So you can offer a big range, a wide range of different objects in the same color, and this will be less boring than having all the categories all together. So I hope this helps somehow, but once again, without any other information, it's quite difficult to give a proper reply to this question. So the next question is quite interesting, is what are the main differences between visual merchandising language for male customers and females one? Wow. As we know, male and female have different behave, and of course shopping habits. So yes, there are differences, and I would go with general speaking, okay? Women are more enticed by the whole experience, and men prefer the fast way. So women prefer to imagine themselves in a situation, and the way they can imagine themselves in a dress with shoes, jewelry and all the ambience. men want to go straight to the point. And this is general speaking, but more or less are the things that visual merchandising and marketing use to leverage to that specific target, like man or female. Last question is, can I do visual merchandising remotely? What do you need to do as a task? Yes, it is possible to do visual merchandising remotely. There is a lot to talk about this topic. Once again, I do visual merchandising remotely. I do consultancy sometimes all over the world, just sitting in front of my computer. What you need to do is to have as much information as you need, because of course, if we're speaking about Milan, I know every single street with retail, and it's not difficult for me to understand what kind of target or people or kind of shop we're talking about. If we're talking about a shop or a street that is abroad, it's really difficult for me to understand, especially if I don't know the city. So I need all the information from the retailers in order to do my consultancy properly, because I need to know what kind of street is it, what kind of shop, how is the window, how big is the door, where the people goes, they're going to office, they're going to take cafe, they're going to shopping. I need all this information. At the same time, VM, remotely VM is possible to do also thanks to some software that allows you to recreate the store in a virtual way in your computer. So yeah, it is possible to do it. And there are so many ways to do it. Even inside a company, you may be the one sitting in front of the computer all the day and delivering the guidelines. This was the last question, and I hope you liked this video. Once again, thank you very much for your support. I never expect that this channel could have 2,000 subscribers, because when it was born in 2010, it was just an exercise for my mind to keep my mind working on visual merchandising. But this seems to be a topic that is really interesting. Thank you very much, because of course I'm not speaking about fashion and I'm not speaking about makeup. I'm not really good in that, but I am really good in visual merchandising because it's what I love and what I do. And if you want to know about the story of this channel born in 2010, I will be more than happy to tell you. Just let me know in the comment down below. I'm very happy, and thank you very much for your support.